welcome to our third medicine sessions. Thanks to the medicine community for all your support, sharing and engagement through these difficult times. And welcome back to all those that have tuned in before. But more importantly, welcome to those that have joined for the first time. I know there's a lot of you that have joined through Burgs's Loving Kindness Metathon, the 24-hour meditation that he's been running from 12 p.m. Saturday to 12 p.m. Sunday. Burgs and his Love versus Virus channel have largely inspired us here at the medicine sessions. If you want to watch that, it's streaming every single day at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Burgs himself has actually been a big part of Wider Horizons and medicine. He was part of our ambassador gathering actually last summer. You can find out a little bit more about him on his Facebook and his YouTube page, Love versus Virus. If you do have any questions for Burgs throughout this, then please do post them, and there will be an opportunity for us to raise these at the end. So many of you may know that one of the key principles of medicine is to provide a platform for wisdom keepers from a variety of the world's spiritual traditions, elders from some of the remaining indigenous people, and we kind of offer them this platform to share their teachings, their ceremonies and their stories, their accumulated knowledge, and to aid us kind of in collectively envisioning a more conscious and peaceful world. And Burgs himself is one of our wisdom keepers. He's a native wisdom keeper that kind of embodies Asian philosophies, I guess. For those of you that don't know him, he trained as a monk. He has a deep understanding of not just Buddhist teachings, but meditation, energy healing. He's uniquely able to communicate these with compassion and insight. And more importantly, accessibility to a Western audience. He's an internationally renowned meditation teacher. He's an author, and he's taught thousands of students. One of them was going to be me. He actually sponsored me to take part on his silent retreat, which was meant to be a couple of weeks ago, but given the current socio-economic climate, it was unable to go ahead. He recently shared his Give Back Generation speech with us at Wider Horizons, and that was kind of what inspired that part of the journey for me. So once again, if you do have questions, please feel free to ask them. We're also running a competition, so you can see that on our Facebook page, and we're giving away a ticket every single week at the end of our medicine session stream. So hosting tonight's session is George. George is actually with Burgs, as you can see. They've been isolating together. George is one of the co-founders of Medicine Festival and part of the core council team, and he's also heading up our curation across the board. So thank you, George, and over to you guys.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks very much. Yes, so I'm up here with Burgs. We've been doing a number of things up here with our online community, Burgs' online community of meditation students. I'd like to just start firstly by just extending a warm welcome to all the viewers who are from all the different medicine families around the world. I'd like to say thank you for joining us, and thank you for all your help in getting us as Medicine Festival to this point. You know, so much love and effort has got here. So thank you very much. I'd like to extend a lot of gratitude and thanks to the indigenous and spiritual leaders around the world that have also joined us over the last few years and continue to put in their inspiration and their insight and help with this project. I'd like to thank you, Zach, and also Jenna for your amazing work in bringing medicine online sessions to light. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank Josh from the Medicine Council for allowing Medicine Festival to be happening at his home on Wasing and making that such a wonderful place for this good work. And I'd like to say thank you very much to our partners, Wider Horizons, Advaya, Psychedelic Society, who are also joining us on this journey. And of course, I'd like to thank the Art of Meditation and Burgs for joining us. Thank you, Burgs, for giving us your time.
You're welcome, George, although we haven't actually just joined each other. In case you didn't know, George was sitting the other side of the camera for the last 24 hours, and now he's up on stage with me. So welcome, George.
Thanks. Yeah, as I said, we've been up here together. There's a few of us who have worked for many years. I've worked with Burgs for 22 years now, and running online courses up from here and live streams. And today, one of the things that's just finished, I think many of you might know, was this 24-hour loving kindness metathon marathon. And perhaps you'd like to say a little bit about why you felt that it was the right thing to organize. And
Well, yes, I mean, having organized, normally we organize our meditation retreats as gatherings, as no doubt you also are used to gathering together. So getting used to this doing things online was something new for us. But every year we run this event called Metathon, where we gather as many of us as we can in one place and sit and do a 24-hour loving kindness vigil. Now, we normally do it to raise money for the orphanages that we support in Burma. But this year we decided just to do it. And it was the first time we'd done it online. And it started a few weeks ago with when we opened up the Love versus Virus channel to try to give support, really, to people who were struggling going through this whole coronavirus experience. And at that time, so many people were in a state of almost shock as trying to work out what on earth was going on. People were getting ill. And I just wanted to put together this regular space where we could all gather and do this loving kindness meditation together, so that we had this refuge that we could come to at least once a day. So we've been doing that for about 6, 7, 8 weeks now. And we've got, I think we get anything between 400 and 700 people joining us every evening. And that's been ongoing. And then we decided, well, let's do this metathon online rather than not do it. Let's do it online. So I reached out to all our communities around the world and we set this gauntlet down. Let's try and get 1,000 hours of loving kindness down in 24 hours and hold that space for all those people who are in service now and all those people who are seriously ill, because unlike normal times, these people aren't getting the loving care from people who are dear to them. They've got wonderful support from the care workers, but family and friends can't be there. So the purpose of creating this loving kindness field was a way to give people a way to actually connect in that space where we aren't separated from each other. And that's provided so much comfort to those people who feel helpless, knowing that their loved ones are in hospital. And also people who feel isolated and alone because they aren't able to be with their loved ones. And through practicing this loving kindness meditation, and in particular making this connection to this heart space that we all have, that we all share, that space where that sense of separation between us disappears and the genuine felt sense of being connected opens up within us. So we've been running this for the past few weeks, and the last 24 hours, we held that space for 24 hours. And it was amazing. I mean, we had people joining from literally all over the world, and we clocked up over 4,000 hours of meditation in that 24 hours, which was incredible. So we're just recovering for it, because whilst I was up this side of the camera, probably George had to work even harder than me, because he was the guy, together with Ben, fiercely trying to keep everything going the way that Zach is doing now. So George, well done, mate. We got through it and we're here. So,
yeah, so sorry for looking a little bit ropey today.
Yeah.
Anyway, just following on from what you were saying, because obviously part of the theme of the Metathon was obviously to support people and create this wonderful field of merit, which I think all of us who are involved felt tremendously over the last 24 hours. It was an incredible feeling of love that everyone was tapping into. And it felt like when we were sending that support and bringing those people to mind that might have been sick or suffering, that there was a real energetic support going out. And that was obviously in and of itself an amazing thing, and felt wonderful to be part of. And I guess one of the things that you very much touched on over the last 24 hours was how, not only the way that loving kindness and love itself supports others, but I guess we're all in the same camp right now. We're at Medicine Festival looking at ways to maybe come out of this and trying to find out how we might build a more beautiful world coming out of this, and the role that love, and particularly tuning into that, and what your connection you made between love and life, how that might be a very important part of going forward.
Well, I think we do instinctively make the connection, don't we? That love is the sort of fundamental driving force behind our lives, and if we can access it and align our lives around our longing to experience and express love, then we're going to move in the right direction. But of course, our challenge is actually to maintain and uphold that connection, so that even though we know it's there, we don't lose it, because we're also driven by all kinds of things. And particularly when we are very stressed, or we're under a tremendous amount of pressure, or things are tough, it's all too easy to forget or to lose that connection to our heart. We make it in times when we're in quiet meditation or in prayer or connecting to friends. But when life gets really tough, quite often we switch into this sort of survival mechanism where we find it much harder to access that love. So what I'm trying to suggest to people is that the pathway by which we can maintain a more ongoing connection, it's not just love, as George just hinted, it's life itself, our fundamental connection to the power of life that is driving us, which ultimately is love. And upholding that and staying connected to it is absolutely key, because it's in our organized and coherent state, we identify clearly how important it is to express love. So in answer to your question, really the first step that I try to impress upon all the students who come to me while embarking on any of this kind of work is that in order to make that connection and uphold it, the most direct way we can do it, regardless of what spiritual practices we may turn to when we are in our coherent and uplifted state, is if we can make our needs few, if we can be easy to serve and of few needs, then we find ourselves more able to maintain an inner state of composure when we are challenged. If we have a highly elaborate life that is hard to uphold, that is fragile and delicate, then of course, when we feel everything's going well, we have that connection to our inner light. But of course, it's when we're challenged that we need to make that connection. So the first step that I suggest to everyone is to have a look at what we perceive our needs to be, and see if we can't make the reflection that most of what we think we need are just our wants. And as I said in that talk earlier on today, our real needs are just food, shelter, and companionship. And that if we have those three basic things, from that place, we're able to start to give, if our needs are few. But of course, if our needs are elaborate and many, and we have an extraordinary difficult to uphold life, it takes a long time before we can put ourselves into the field of service and actually express our love through giving in service to others. So yes, our first step is to have a look at what we might give back or give up or let go, so that we can tread a little bit more lightly. And that's, I suppose, in essence, what I was trying to say at the closing ceremony earlier on today.
Thank you. I know that we were going to watch a little bit of a clip from that, and I don't know if that's available. Zach, is that available?
What's he got? Hello, Zach. What's he got?
Yep. Should we go for it?
Let's go for it.
Great.
What have you got there, Zach?
Of meditation. Not only 24 hours of meditation, 24 hours of loving kindness meditation. And amongst us, so far we've clocked up over 3,500 hours of meditation. Isn't that amazing? Give yourselves a round of applause, everybody. So thank you. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your love. I felt it. I think you felt it. I think we've all felt it. Now, isn't that an amazing thing? Let's just stop for a moment before we wrap this up and reflect upon what it is that we've actually done and what it means. You know, this has all been about love. It's been all about loving kindness. But if you read between the lines, if you listen quietly in that space that opens up in your heart, it's not just about love, is it? It's about life. It's about life.
That seems to yeah. Like, is that? Not sure if that's might have lost that. I think we might have lost the feed there. Is that what happens there?
That's what it is, to just be an expression of life. Now, when we allow ourselves to be that, when we get in touch with the power of that current that is just relentlessly trying to express itself through us, it doesn't express itself as greed or wanting more. It expresses itself as love, as appreciation, and as gratitude for the fact that we are simply here. Perhaps we've missed a trick. In our ingenuity, we've become competitive. In our race to display ourselves elaborately, in our need to be seen, we've created all kinds of things. We've become intoxicated with the idea of ourselves as the creator. And gradually and in stages, we've allowed ourselves to lose our connection to the power of that creative force that actually is the support to our lives. It just is life, my friends. It is nothing more, and there is nothing we need to add. So in all those times that we spend gnashing our teeth, racking our brains, trying to work out our master plan, what am I here for? What do I need to do? How am I going to be seen? For what will I be remembered? We didn't come here to be remembered, my friends. We came here to turn up. There is nothing we have created. There is nothing we will ever create that will come close to the miracle that is going on outside your window in nature 24 hours of every single day. When we, each one of us stops for a moment and actually turns up and opens our eyes and recognize what it is we are a part of, we know there is nothing to add. There is nothing we could add. But thank you. There is nothing left to say, but thank you. And the next thing that arises in our hearts when we step out of the way for just a moment in that moment that we get over ourselves and just stop and look and connect, not just to each other, however amazing it is to feel that connection, when we connect to what it is to be alive. There is nothing we could add. So I don't know how it is that we got ourselves so confused, thinking that there was something to add. Well, I hope we are coming to a time where we will grow tired of our need to display ourselves. I hope that we are coming to a time where we will fall in love again with the idea that we are simply alive. I hope that we are coming to a time where we fail to see our differences because they are all illusion. I hope we are coming to a time where we remember that we are one. Not one as human beings upon this planet, but one, a single process, life, expressing itself through you right now, as it's expressing itself through me. And everything that comes into being here is an expression of that single process. We are one, it is one. When we fail to hold all life in our hearts with a loving regard, we fail to remember what we are. There is no end to the suffering that is born of that forgetfulness. It's time we remembered. So what you've done here, what we did here, is just an act of remembrance. To sit quietly, even while we appear to be alone, and remember that we are never alone. To remember that in our hearts we have always been connected, not just to our loved ones, but to all life. And that as the most intelligent creatures on this planet, we have a responsibility of guardianship as well as a debt of gratitude. So I hope that these last 24 hours has given each of us an opportunity to rest in that stillness, to befriend it a little more, to come to that place where we know for ourselves that when we are at rest within ourselves, in touch with our true nature, there is nothing to add, but thank you. Vigil of ours, with nothing but that. Let us close our eyes together, connect back to our hearts, tune in again to those who were with you through this day and night, who though you did not see them, you felt them, you knew they were there. We were together. To each and every one of you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for this precious human life that we have, thank you. There is nothing to add. back?
I think we're back. Are we back? I'm sorry for these technical difficulties. Something seems to have happened with the live stream. I don't know, maybe you want to take on from some of that because we're quite a deep place.
Well, yes. So, yes, if you were tuning in with us while we were listening to that, let's just continue from that point, because we were making the reflection on this precious human life and a remembrance of it. So, shall we just meditate together for a few more minutes? We'll do this live. So, let's tune back in together. If you're listening with us now, just relax back into your body. Let your mind soften. And as I was just saying, try to connect back into that quiet place in your heart. There is a place that lies in the heart of every single one of us that has never been disturbed. When we feel ourselves disturbed and agitated, it is only because we have forgotten it. We get lost in our mind and its display. But our true nature has never been in conflict. So let us tune in together now to that stillness that lies behind all that is disturbed, to that stillness that rests within itself. It is in that stillness that we are connected. It is in that stillness that our ideas of ourselves all fall away. They're just an illusion, a display of our mind. In essence, we are all an expression of a single process. That is life. And it is dying to express itself through you. And it is dying to express itself as love. So try to remember. When we think we are overwhelmed, most of that is going on in our mind. Lost in the ideas of ourselves, we grapple with this and that and forget that our true nature needs nothing added to the experience it is already having. So feel from your heart. Tune in to the others who are sitting with you now, who though they may appear to be distant, they are absolutely with you now in that space in your heart. This is where we experience love. It is not an idea we generate in our minds. It is the fundamental ground of our being. And if we are not experiencing it every second of every day, it is because we have forgotten. We have got lost in the display of our mind. So let us share our loving kindness with each other. Sukhino va kemino hontu sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. May you all be happy and peaceful. And remember that we are all one. It is not an idea. We are not one because we share similar ideas. We are not one because we get along with each other. We are one because we are all an expression of that profound, unfathomable miracle that is life. When we remember that, there is nothing to add but thank you. And the only thing that we would feel prompted to do in response is to share that love. Sukhino ha kemino hontu sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. May we all forget what appear to be our differences. We merely generate them in our mind, in our confusion. May we let go this habit pattern of comparing ourselves to others. May we never forget that we are one. Sukhino akemino hontu sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Ekechi panna bhutati tasawa tawara wana sesa tigawa he mahantawa Majima rasaka nukadula Dita wahe wadita Ye chadure wasanti yawidure Buddha wa samba we siwa Sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. If you are alone, may you feel connected. If you are afraid, may you be free of fear. If you are anxious and worried, may you be calm and peaceful. If you are frail and exhausted, take rest and know that you are loved endlessly and boundlessly. There is a love that lies in the background, that rests in the stillness, that never wavers, that never fades. It loves endlessly and boundlessly. And it is the same love that lies in the heart of every single one of you. We are that love. Please let us not forget. Suki no ake mi no hontu. Sabe sata bhavantu suki tata. May all beings in all directions without exception be happy and peaceful and free from suffering. May all beings in all directions come to remember and never forget the love that is the true ground of their being. Sukino wa kimi no hontu sabe sada bhavantu sukitanta. May all beings be happy. And just bring your attention fully back into your body. Take a few deep breaths. And gradually bring yourself back out of your meditation. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Burgs. And I'd just like to say, again, sorry about the interrupted feed, but I think that was very lovely. So I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I think there's something that comes up for me when I listen to that meditation is remembering what we are, you know.
Talk a bit louder about it.
Oh, should we move that up a little bit?
There we go.
I think remembering what we are, and it seems to be something that's so echoed within all of the indigenous traditions that we're meeting, and I suppose sits at the heart of the ethos of Medicine Festival is remembering what we are. And then, as you said in the meditation, is the only thing that comes out of that moment when we realize that we are all connected, and is this debt of gratitude.
There's nothing else to say, but thank you. Is there?
How important is gratitude as a doorway to this remembering?
Well, you know, I think it's not just gratitude, it's the fact that we need to constantly remember that for as long as we are taking breath, we are fundamentally connected to every single creature that is alive, and that is one thing. And if we take that for granted, which is the opposite of failing to appreciate and express gratitude, then we fall into this delusion that in some way we as human beings are different and stand outside of that. But it's just not the case. When you harm another out of disregard, feeling that something about you is more important than the creature that crawls beneath your feet, you are forgetting. You are seeing yourself as separated, and in that separation we become isolated, and in that isolation we are miserable. And there is no end to the suffering we experience in that isolation. So this remembrance, it's not, of course, the unbelievable feeling of gratitude that arises in us when we take a breath and we remember that we are alive is so key. But it's to not fall into this assumption that we just have the right to be here. It is a profound, rare, and precious gift that we're alive. And there isn't anything to say but thank you to that. So, I think the problem, the root of the problem, is the fact that we see our own life as important. It's life that is important. And you know what, my friends? It sounds harsh, but life doesn't bat an eyelid whether we come or go. If me or George or Ben sitting here with us was to disappear in a puff of smoke right now, life wouldn't bat an eyelid. We do not need to be here. Life does not depend upon our presence. Our presence here is a blessing to us. It's our extraordinary opportunity to experience what it is to be part of this. And when we forget that and think that we have an entitlement to all these other things that we just take because we can, then we break that fundamental connection and we experience nothing but isolation. And the misery of that, there is no worldly pleasure or anything we could add that is going to compensate for the suffering of that disconnection. So, yeah, that remembrance and the gratitude is the only thing there is when we remember.
I guess that suffering that we feel in that separation is then what drives us to create this world that we're in now, the messy world.
Yes, it's interesting. The Buddha gave a talk once when he talked about how consciousness, as it evolves and becomes more intelligent, it develops this capacity to bend its environment to its will and its creativity. And that becomes our very undoing. It's extraordinary. We are supposed to be the most intelligent creatures on this planet. But there isn't one other creature on this planet that harms this planet in any way, and that its entire life is lived. And at the end of it, there's not one thing it's taken out that it doesn't give back entirely. I don't know how we can consider ourselves to be the most intelligent species. There is no creature on the planet that harms itself or undermines the ground it depends upon for its existence but us. And we do that in our forgetfulness because we become intoxicated in our idea of the creator, our creativity and our need to express ourselves personally is what separates us from this extraordinary creative display that we are a part of. And that's the root. That's the root of this problem that we're in. And the misery of that, the things we think we have to create to compensate for that separation. I mean, look, have you got your iPhone 12 yet?
You've seen my phone, it's very broken.
And was it a compensation? Perhaps your broken phone is a testimony to the fact that you still maintain your connection.
I think that obviously one of the things that when we're talking about this remembering, Matt McCartney was on 2 weeks ago saying we were once an earth honoring people. And I guess a lot of folk out there, and I myself a number of times, is like how to remember. I mean, we can keep reminding ourselves, but it doesn't seem to work always, does it?
Wow.
What are the practical steps that we take to?
Well, it's not necessarily just about practical steps. It is a very, very rare period of time where to have more than food, shelter, and companionship even happens. And it's because we have forgotten what it is to have to put our hands in the soil and grow the food that nourishes us, that we have this time to fall into complacency. This earth honoring species that you're talking about is a creature that has to turn to the earth and remember daily that without the sustenance that pours forth from this bountiful planet, we wouldn't be here. So in this isolation, the more we get ourselves focused on all our worldly display and forget what it is to just put food on our table, the easier it is to fall into this state of complacency. So, you know, although you're talking about what are the things we might do to remember, well, you know what? Now, I think we're being forced to remember. Because we're starting to recognize that the things we took for granted, as we're locked away in isolation and we don't know quite what the future holds, we're being forced to reflect upon what it is to be a human being, what it costs to have a human being here. And we're starting to have to ask these questions. What does it take to be here? These things that just sort of so often just come our way because we're so unbelievably fortunate. Well, now we're all starting to remember, well, actually, we might have to learn to till the soil, to go to bed at night with dirt under our fingernails, to feel that smell of the earth on our hands, and know that whether it's a sunny day or whether it rains is going to have an impact upon whether I get food. That's the sort of remembrance that forces us into the present and requires us to appreciate with gratitude what it is to be alive and what it is to be connected to this life, that food that grows up out of the soil that you're going to eat for your lunch is the same life that is coursing through your veins. And if we don't take care of it, we're not here. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, what I always say to people is see what you are willing to give up to create the space within you that you can honor life. You know, one of the reasons we spend so much time forgetting is because we created such an elaborate life that it takes almost all of our energy just to uphold it. And that's not even spending time growing food to put on our table. Utter madness. Imagine if you had to spend time growing food and uphold this life. You know, I always tell this story. You know, there was a great master, and his student approached him one day and said, "So, master, before you became enlightened, what did you do?" To which he replied, "Why, I chopped wood and carried water." "Ah, and now that you're enlightened, what do you do?" He said, "Well, I chop wood, I carry water, and I absolutely love it every single day." You know, to be honest, you do not see how many people, I ask you out there, any one of you who's listening now, who have friends who've gone forth and made these steps into this life of connection, call it what you will, spirit, medicine, whatever you choose to call it. How many of you have friends who've gone far down that path and come back and testified to you? You know what the answer is? A more elaborate life. No, you do not see it. Everyone who comes to see what this life is comes back. And not only do they testify to the fact that it is awesome, not only they are deeply at peace within themselves, they all have an extraordinarily simple life because they see that our needs are so few. It's the truth, my friends. We do not need more than food, shelter, and companionship. And the only reason we think we do is because we haven't learned to be with ourselves. And so we have to be distracted. But it's not the case that anyone who breaks through that veil of, call it what you will, confusion, and sees with clarity what life is, chooses a complicated, hard to uphold life. Every single one of them treads lightly. So let's let that be a lesson in itself.
Wonderful. I thank you. I'm wondering, Zach, because I just noticed the time. I wonder if there were any questions from audience, and
well, there's no questions from the audience at this point, other than where the sound went and if we can turn the mic up. But I did actually have a question for you myself, Burgs. I know that I was going to come and speak with you, and that kind of conversation and that opportunity was raised because of this whole notion you mentioned of doing less. And for me, someone that kind of believes largely in sacred activism and being a transforming force of compassion and action, and I've got this burning desire to be an effective change maker, whether that's of systemic or institutional change or even just, influencing the people around me. And I just wonder how it's a bit of a paradox to me how we can sit and meditate and be present and still and content with very little, but still yearn to do more to, preserve the earth or protect the earth. And how do these balance out? How do they work in harmony to kind of engage in both?
Well, it's a very good question, that, Zach. And it's an important one. But what I would say is your burning desire to be of service is an extraordinary thing. And I think all of us have this longing to see what it is that we can contribute. But what's really important is that we, first of all, access the energy within ourselves that mean we have a boundless amount of energy to put in the pot. Now, the difference between willfully driving ourselves in the pursuit of what we want, which is exhausting, and a simple willingness to do what is appropriate tirelessly and a total unwillingness to do what is inappropriate, these are very different things. So to be driven by a burning desire may well galvanize us, but to get to the point where we have the energy that we need to actually apply ourselves in that direction and bring about these changes, it takes boundless energy. So the thing is to trust. What I say to everybody is if you can align yourself first and clear the space, that means that our longing to act turns into a capacity to act. By the time you freed your life of the, what should we say? Should we just say the baggage, the things actually we're carrying around that we don't need? The first stage of becoming what you're called someone in action, in the path of service, a contributor, is to make sure that we tread lightly. So at that point, in that process of recognizing that we do not need what we think we need, this desire to do does not fade. It's not that, sorry, it transforms. It transforms into willingness to do, which is a quiet, composed, gathered space within ourselves where we're not afraid to put ourselves into action, but we are realistic about the fact that what we are able to do. And one person at a time, first attending to our own impact and maneuvering ourselves into a position where we are not, you're saying activist, but activated, where our life current is flowing through us so we do not tire. We aren't afraid. We do not waver when it's challenging. This is about attending to what we need to attend to within ourselves so we can put ourselves in the line. And it's really, really key. So, I think you've got to look at it in terms of we want to see the world change. The world changes also when we remove ourselves from that field of being a burden. This is the greatest act of service we could do, is to no longer be a burden. And in the process of doing it, we create the space to work out what else we have to give. So the answer is this. The world is currently driven by the will of man. Now that will can desire the beautiful as well as the profane. There is but it is driven by will. Will exhausts itself. Yes? Willingness to do is tireless when there is no need. So this is the thing that people find difficult to understand. When we let go this attachment to, something new arises in us, which is a total willingness to do what is asked and a total unwillingness to continue to do what is inappropriate. And at that point, we're free. So, and we can put ourselves in service in whatever way We can. But the thing that where we get ourselves exhausted is in lying awake at night trying to work all this out. This universe is an extraordinarily intelligent process. It works itself out. The question is whether we are going to be part of it as it reorganizes itself. And that's about nothing more than just individually, one person at a time, and groups of us coming back into alignment with that intelligence behind our lives. This will of man, the planet doesn't need it. No matter how intelligent we are, it just needs us to behave in alignment with the way of things, and there won't be a problem to solve. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you. Yeah, it resonates a lot, I guess. And it's for me, it was always hard to kind of.
Sorry, there's one thing to add, and this is very important, because the more we have to, if we try and force something into being out of a driven desire for it to happen, we may well get our way. But the point is, if you've done that through bending the envelope rather than it being an unfolding of a natural order, that thing that we forced into being, even if it's radical change, it won't hold. It doesn't hold. Nothing holds as an act of will. The only thing that holds is the natural order and the way that it unfolds. So if we want things to change into a long-term sustainable state, we do not need to reinvent. Do you understand? Remember what we were saying in the meditation? There isn't anything to add. Life has been seamless and perfect forever. We just have to maneuver ourselves out of the way. The bit that's in the way is the will of man. Our willingness to be here and delight in it is the way. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you. It's about working in harmony and seeing ourselves as part of nature, but still being in vibrational accord with your message, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you, Burgs. Really profound, and I guess it's trying to help me do a bit less. At least that's my intention. But we do have more questions.
Not too much less, please, Zach.
I'll try.
Much good work.
But we do have a quick question here. I'll pop it up on screen, Burg, so you can see it. I embrace letting go. At the same time, however, how do we make the takers accountable? Takers equals those who do not understand the paradigm of less and pursue and extol the illusion of progress.
Well, my friend, the takers are accountable. They just are. Now, they won't be held to account by us. The way of things will make them accountable. So, I know it's very difficult to not feel angered by what looks like the ignorance of others. But, those what you're calling the takers, of course we have to hold them to account and point a finger, but they will not listen if while we try to express ourselves willfully. When we can show that the power of love is more strong than the power of the will of man, then they will see it's like a natural order. I mean, the Buddha talks about it in terms of an unfolding of things. So you just have to trust that no matter how strong and powerful is the will of man, the light that shines in the heart of one who holds themselves in a state of love is always more powerful. And each one of us has to hold that light. It's numbers, my friend. It's numbers. These people will not be held to account until they take their last breath and they realize at that moment what they've been a part of. But they are accountable. The point is, hold that light of love inside you. Don't be overcome with anger. It's ignorance. These people have no idea what they are doing. So, the Buddhist he said, there was a murderer who came before him trying to kill him, and he failed to kill him, and eventually in exasperation said, well, come on, why can't I catch you? And he clocked that the Buddha was obviously faster than he was and couldn't be caught. But the point is, the Buddha said to this Angulimala, he said, you know what, if I had been you and been through what you had been through, and my mind was made up the way your mind is, I would have killed those 900 people that you've killed. If you had been through what I have been through, then you would be the Buddha. So the point is, when we judge another, we see ourselves in separation. That which we're seeing as abhorrent in the behavior of others, we have to remember is confusion. Greed and hatred are not innate in any being, my friend. Love is our true nature. That greed and that hatred is confusion. And the only way to bring someone out of confusion is to show them what love is. The squaring up to we may have to do to try to make the point that this is wrong. But people do not change until they see love for themselves. So, this goes back to the question that Zach asked, the same thing. We have to stand, we have to speak, we have to act, we have to rant and what we can to get people to listen to and say, we have to change. All of this has to be done. But you have to understand, the Buddha, no great saint appeared on this planet, changed the way of things. Things roll out on account of the seeds that we have sown. If you want to see things change, we just start sowing sweet seeds in the ground, and in time they bring sweet fruit. And all that stuff will come to pass. Everything comes to pass. So, really, if you can find it in your heart to love those people that we're, of course, we want to hold to account, but we have to find the love to realize the misery that they are in, the confusion that they are in, to be living in that way. There is no greater suffering than that. They are accountable. We just have to remember that.
Thanks, Burgs. That was wonderful. Wonderful. Zach, I'm just wondering do we have time for anything else, or what's...
We are pretty much out of time. We do have one more. Perhaps if you want to take this one quickly, Burgs. I like to travel the world and I learn so much from people and cultures. Is this acceptable, or should I be happy with a simpler life?
Oh, bless you. Yes. Oh, well, okay. I mean, I have to say, I don't know if you can hear me well. Yeah. I think right now, perhaps it would be a worthy reflection to remember to have had that unbelievable experience of traveling the world and this rare opportunity to embrace all these experiences. It's such a gift and such a blessing. And perhaps now is coming the time when we should say thank you that we had that opportunity. And yes, we do need to embrace a simpler life. I mean, I've had exactly the same understanding that you have. I love to go out and explore, but it costs dearly to do these things. I took donations to Burma, to the orphanages that we support at New Year, and we had to plant 4,500 trees to pay for that journey. So I think first and foremost now, our gift back to the planet is to tread lightly and just be extraordinarily grateful that we've had so many of these experiences. And if you are going to make them, then make them count. That's all I would say, my friend. All right.
Amazing. Well, George, do you want to say something to finish that up?
Well, I think just thank you, Burgs. Wonderful. I loved hearing those questions, and hearing you give those answers. It makes me feel very pleased with and proud of what we're doing as well with medicine, because I think it's everything you're saying it feels very in alignment with what we're doing, not only as a gathering, but as an ongoing conversation and an ongoing community. And so, yeah, I just, I suppose I'd like to just say thank you, Zach, for tonight. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you to everyone working in medicine. Just before I hand over to Burgs, just to sign off on anything, I might just say to anyone who doesn't know out there about Medicine Festival and this prayer that we are making this conversation of how we can be the medicine in the planet, how we can help in our best way to make the changes that we believe might be possible. You know, that this that there are tickets available to the gathering, even though we don't know that the gathering is going ahead. We do know that it will be going ahead next year, or we hope it will be going ahead, and that the any tickets that are bought will be transferable to the following year. And just to say that any money that does get spent, this is a community interest company, Medicine Festival, all the profits go to indigenous cultures that are protecting the 80% of the world's biodiversity that is most important to flourishing of life on our planet. So I really would encourage you, even if you don't feel to buy a ticket, to be part of this support and part of this ongoing prayer, as I said. So thank you, all of you, for watching and taking this time out of your Sunday evening. It's very precious time, I know. And so we really honor that, and thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry about the sound. When we did a sound check earlier with Zach, it was sounding perfect, but these things happen. So many apologies. And all the Art of Meditation crew that have been meditating with us for the last 24 hours, thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Live every evening.
And live every evening. Yes. Well, I'll hand over to Burgs now, Tim. Maybe you want to say that. But thank you very much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Lovely. Thank you, George. And thank you to everybody. And Zach, thank you for hosting this. Yeah, I've got nothing to add except it's been an honor and an absolute pleasure to be here. Yes, if you do, any of you find yourselves struggling, or if you know anyone who's ill or unwell, or even if someone's passed away, we hold this space every evening at 7:15, where we do this meditation. There's a growing number of us, and we hold that space, and we share merits with those who've passed away and send our loving kindness with those who are ill. So you can join us on Love versus Virus on YouTube every night of the week, 7:15 in the evening. So yes, thank you, everybody. It's truly been an honor. Blessings to all of you. Stay safe.
Thank you so much, Burgs. Thank you, George, for hosting. We're really grateful. And thank you for everyone tuning in. Next Sunday, we're really excited to look at the future of plant medicine and its role in society. We're going to be joined by pharmacologist, lecturer and author that many of you may know, Dennis McKenna, best known as Terence McKenna's brother. And joining him will be Ben DeLonan from ICES. ICES, it stands for International Centre for Ethnobotanical Education, Research and Services, I believe. He's also an author of several amazing publications, and he made a film called Ibogaine, The Rite of Passage. It's going to be really amazing. For those of you who don't know, ICES is a non-profit organisation. They're dedicated to transforming society's relationship with psychoactive plants. So an amazing initiative to hear about and support. And for those of you that missed our previous sessions, they're all available on our Facebook page, Medicine Festival, facebook.com/medicinefestival/live, and also our YouTube channel, just Medicine Festival. So if you want to catch our past two sessions, please head over there. But that's all from us. Thank you so much, and we will see you next Sunday at 8 p.m.